Welcome to the Principles of Change podcast, where we dive into stories of leadership, innovation, and transformation in schools. I am your host, Lee from SmartPass. Today, we're thrilled to have Douglas Weatherholt, principal of Lakeside High School in Ohio. Doug has been a principal for 17 years now. He's passionate about creating opportunities that not only shape his students' futures, but also leave a lasting impact on the community. Welcome, Douglas.
Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure to contribute. Hopefully, people can take something away from this and see how they can change people's lives also.
Oh, I'm confident they can, but I before we get into anything, I wanted to talk about the new drone technology class at Lakeside because that's just so cool. And it's a great example of principles of change, the podcast name here. So would love to hear about that, why you pushed that, and how that's going.
Well, there are so many things going on in education in today. Drones is just one more avenue. Students need to find and schools need to find a way that they can connect to the educational process, ways that they can take ownership of their own educational process. Drones was it's an upcoming field. You see them everywhere. Not only can students get involved for recreational use on their own, but there's a lot of career choices and stuff, and aviation is going that way. It's just new technology, new adventures for kids. And my whole purpose behind doing it and trying to find classes like this to implement in a school is that although English and math and those things are never going to go away, and we need to drive students down that process, but students need to feel connected to their educational process, and they need to find what motivates them. And if taking drones, a drone class at the high school is a way to get them invested in coming to school and finding a purpose, and that gets them in the English classes and the other things so they can become critical thinkers. School districts need to do more and more things like that. The educational process and experience is not what it was when I was a student, where you came to school, you sat in a row and you did that. Students need to have purpose and reasoning behind it now. And it's so important for us as the leaders to find those connections for the students. The drone class here has been tremendous. We actually had other news broadcasts come out. We're willing to share those ideas. It actually was funded by a local organization. The Morris Foundation actually funded it and bought us all our drones and everything we needed. What a great education opportunity it is for kids.
Wow, yeah. I mean, the education opportunity, but plus right now the drone industry particularly is set to grow 20% each year. And that's right now the predictions. So I know students always ask, well, how am I going to use this in real life? This is the most practical thing I can see. You can help people choose what they're going to do going forward, but you're actually helping them get that certificate, right? And helps them go forward.
These students, well, at the end of the day, will have the opportunity to get FFA certified if they want to do commercial uses for drones. The teacher actually has connected them with an outside organization that will fund and pay for their coursework and pay for their testing, as long as they fulfill and follow through with their obligations. It also is another way that students are learning about weather and science tied right into the class, because they have to make all those calculations. Once you start talking about calculations, now we got mathematical formulas coming into the process. It is just a wonderful tool that connects the students to the school and to the rest of the curriculum.
That is amazing. What would your advice be to other principals or educators who hear this, think that sounds awesome, but it's like, I don't know how I would do that. And maybe not specifically drones, but maybe just any kind of STEM field like that or out of class. You mentioned you had a fundraise. Is there any advice you'd give to other educators?
My advice that I would give to anybody going into education is that we need to look at how we can meet all students' needs. You have your students that are going to go on to college and they have their track, their CP track, their honors tracks. You have students that are just coming to school because they have to. It's their educational need. But we have to find a way to motivate and offer something for everybody. Whether that be like what we do here is we just opened a woodshop program also, because we have part of our student body that they need that. What are they getting out of that class? You can tie back into your other classes, measurements, mathematical calculations. Once again, it all interconnects to teach the lessons that you want. So find out what is interesting the students and then give them the opportunities to meet that. It is not always going to line up with what our belief systems are, but we have to find out what they want. Students nowadays, they want experiences. They want to have value in what they're doing, and not just because this is what you're supposed to do. So make it an experience for them. Make the educational process an experience, and make sure that you're offering enough selection for everybody, because one shoe doesn't fit everybody. We all know that. Whether a student needs online programming for their education process, whether they want to go into drones or get into that to STEM classes, whether they want to do wood shop again in that class or honors programs or CCP, you need to make sure that those educational opportunities are available to all students. And you need to let students fail at those. You need to let them in and out of any process that they want. It's okay for them to fail, but then pick them up and point them in a different direction. Let them try something new. The students want to know that they can believe and trust in you.
Yeah, so incredible. I think that speaks a lot to your point. Now everyone has computers in their pocket, and knowledge, facts, they come easy. And yes, that's what learning is about, but also no, it's not. It's about having these experiences you touch on. So that really is amazing. And I know you're the only school in the county offering that in your daily curriculum.
Yeah, we're the only school in the area offering that particular program. That might be almost in northeastern Ohio, period. I do know of one other school that was offering it, but they were an hour and a half away. So we are, we're also not looking just at that. We next year, part of our curriculum expansion is we're going to go into esports and offer a gaming class during the school day. I know that's very non-traditional, but if that's what makes students interested in coming to school, and that's what makes that bridge for them to have ownership of their education and a connection to the school district like we want them to be, so why don't we give that to them? And just because we don't see that, our educators currently don't see that as a valuable educational process, go back and look at all the industry marketing behind students that can do gaming, whether it be the programming aspect of it, whether it be the competition aspect of it, the marketing aspect of it. There's a whole field available to students that wasn't there when we were kids. And I guarantee it, 10 years from now, the jobs that are available, we would not even have thought of. So we need to make sure that they're on the cutting edge. I think if you statistically look at a college degree, when a student graduates from college, that degree is already outdated with what's coming out in the new technology and the new information to support that degree. So we need to make sure that we're offering opportunities for people to expand their thought processes and become who they're supposed to be, not necessarily who we want them to become.
100% agreed. I remember when social media classes started coming up and courses on that, people were laughing. What, they're teaching classes on using Facebook, and now that's such a big job. That's such a big industry, a field, digital marketing. So I think when people hear the same thing like esports and other stuff like that, never be too skeptical. One more question for you before we take a quick break is, how did you come up with drones and wood shopping? How did you get it from the student body that was the right classes or the ones they wanted?
Well, we surveyed the students when we were getting ready to do our curriculum guide. We put out different classes. Which classes would you like to see us offer here at Lakeside High School? And those were on top of the list of classes that they chose. We had such an outpour for the program when I first thought, well, we can offer drones. Let's just offer one section of drones and we can put like 8 kids in there. Let's get it up and running. Let's see how this works. We're running it now with 22 kids in 2 sections. So we had a nice section of our population that asked for that class. Same thing that happened with woodshop. When we put that in as a choice, we actually had to shut down the enrollment of it because I don't have enough seats available for students to be in and keep the area safe. So it was administrative driven, but then it was also student driven with their input on what they would like to see us offer and how they would like to see the school district move forward. Once again, it's another way that they take ownership of this process.
All right, well, we are going to take a quick break and we're going to be back with a special segment. And we're back. I am speaking with Douglas Weatherholt, principal of Lakeside High School in Ohio. And here's our segment, Changing the Game. So Douglas, we already dove into some of the changes you made with the classes, the drone, the wood shop. That's a great example. What are some of the other changes you've implemented that has made a significant difference in the school environment or student experience?
Well, I think everything you do has to be intentional, whether it be professional development for staff and bringing in outside people to do those professional developments. A lot of principals like me, we do a lot of our own professional development. But I'm a strong believer that you have to have experts in those particular topics, whether it be we're going to talk about Hattie strategies or web's depth of knowledge or whatever we're doing. Um, I'm capable of talking about that and teaching my staff. But then it's important to bring in an expert in that field, whether it be from a state support team, a university, come down for some PD to reinforce those thought processes. Also, another thing I do is I always ask my teachers when it comes to professional development, as I ask the students for curriculum input, what would they like me to look into to get them offerings and up to date. Everything I do here, though, also is done in teams. I am not a believer that a principal or a leader sits on his own. It's not about uh, being the leader. It's about how many leaders you develop in the process. So I am always about let's go to a team, let's get input from the stakeholders, not necessarily saying we're going to do exactly what they say or we're going to do what they want, but you want to know where they're coming from and how you can best lead. Whether that's a student body population, as far as that goes, or it's the teachers. Let the people that you're leading have a voice in the process and how the things move forward. Make sure that it's open dialogue to get what you need. Because once you get people to buy into the process, everything is so much easier. They own it. It was done with their thought process, and they appreciate it. What leaders can't do is to do that process and then implement their thoughts into action. Maybe you got to give something up. Maybe you have to back off on what you wanted. But what I have found in my career is that when I do those things, if I give them 80% of what they want to talk about and how they want to move things forward, the 20% that is important and dear to my heart, they will give me with open arms and they will help me achieve those goals. So I think it's always a process of including your stakeholders, no matter who they are, no matter how big or how small of a voice you want them to have. You do need to listen to them. And they need to know you're sincere and that you really did listen. And that's why I said that 80-20%, because if you don't give them what they're asking for, then they realize really quickly that you're not being sincere about it. Um, so it's important that you involve the people around you, and then you also make sure that you do reward or respect their opinions in that process.
Yeah, wow. So it sounds like you just really narrowed down how to almost be that leader, but that leader who's almost a sponge and you're absorbing everything and you're driving change, but the person already the group, the community already knows why that change is happening because they were involved with it, because maybe they were the ones to bring it to you and they told you. So I feel like you've really mastered how to get that feedback and then make that happen. What do you think is the we'll start with teachers maybe and talk there. What would you say is just your top tip for making teachers know that hey, they can come with you these with this feedback or that you will take these ideas or maybe you know what, we can't do this right now.
I think transparency is the most important thing. And I've been at this. I've been in education for 34 years, uh, and nobody around me ever thinks that I'm still not trying to learn and I'm still not trying to do better. The you need to respect the people around you. You need to give people value. You need to as a leader, you need to let things go. You need to pass things to other people, and they may not do it exactly the way you would do it. You give them guidance. You give them freedom to explore their creativity and do what you need, as long as your end result is what you're looking for, and that no one's violating any laws or board policies or things of that nature. Let people have creativities to implement things the way they want through with your supervision. I think when you do that, when people are not scared to make mistakes, that you get the best creativity out of people, whether that be students. And I tell my teachers that for the students. They're learning. They're going to make mistakes. This isn't about gotcha moments. This is about people expanding who they are and expanding their knowledge and their experiences.
So, last question for you. Looking ahead, what's the next big trend or idea or concept in education that you are most excited about?
The things that I'm most excited about right now is to bring in some programming here that's real life experiences, whether that be a work-based program, which we brought in this year, where we do have a segment of population that goes to work in the afternoon and have those experience. We're looking at farm to table approach here, where we're working with local farmers to put in a garden here so that we can
Wow.
produce some food and teach them how to do that. The other thing too, as I referenced earlier, I think that technology is advancing so fast that we need to try to get on the cutting edge of that, whether that be through gaming or additional STEM programming to offer students opportunities to expand their horizons. There is just so much coming in this ever changing world that the district should be embracing instead of being fearful of AI. Anybody that is not encouraging their teachers to use AI and understanding that AI is amply available, you're missing the boat, because that is the future. I use it every day, whether it be just to help me look at the way I wrote an email. I'm using AI to make sure that I'm writing at a college level, that I put it in AI and say, please write this. Maybe I'm talking to my freshmen, please write this at a ninth grade level for my student body so that they can understand it better, so that it removes some of the wording that maybe I put in there, not understanding their capability. So I think there's tons of stuff that is coming down the pipe in technology that districts need to embrace and to figure out how they're going to use it. I go back to when we used to say, you're not going to have a calculator in your pocket all the time. And not only do not have a calculator in my pocket, I have a computer in my pocket. That information is instantaneously, as far as that goes. In schools, need to embrace those things and not fear those things. Our schools are going to fall further and further behind.
Well, that is such a great way to end this, with embracing things and staying ahead of the curve. Before we wrap up, this was such an insightful conversation. Anything you want to call out before we wrap up about your high school, your experience, anyone you want to shout out? This is your moment.
I think that I've been so blessed in my life to have been influenced by some other great teachers, whether it be John Whipple, who was my mentor getting into the administration part of this process, or whether it be my wife, Corinne, who has supported me through this, who's actually a special ed teacher herself with an administrative license, working through the process. Just I've been blessed to have surrounded myself with great people that have helped me become who I am today. No one does this by themselves. That you surround yourselves and fill those needs that you have, and that you keep the people that are supporting you around.
Very true in all aspects. No one does anything themselves. Douglas, thanks so much for a great conversation on the Principles of Change podcast. We will see everybody next time.